first thing I have to point out, I see your heart on you wear your heart on your neck, or my heart on my sleeve.
Yeah.
It's a good time for an interview. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're on your winter holiday or summer holiday. I'm not sure which it would be when you're going to the other way around, because it's winter there.
It's winter in Melbourne now, and I think it's been raining, and it's probably like between 5 to 10 degrees, and it's just winter. But we come over here, and it's like, I don't know, 30 degrees, and that's pleasant for us.
Yeah, that's a nice, cool summer day for you.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Hot weather in Melbourne's probably like 45 or 40 degrees.
I've always wanted to go to Australia because it looks beautiful, and I know a few Australians, and they're lovely people, but that heat. So I'd have to go in the winter, I think. This time of year is the perfect time.
Yeah, a lot of people can't handle that heat. Even people that come from the Middle East and other countries, they say this heat is so intense, like in the burning sun, because we haven't got much ozone layer. And, you know, with what's happening with the environment and with global warming, that's not getting any better. You know, it's getting worse. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
How does that impact you as a band playing in that kind of an environment where it's always so hot? And I'm assuming even with air conditioning in a club, it's going to be hot.
Yeah, I mean that's it's one thing, us being in a band and playing and it being hot, but I mean the main thing is, you know, what it's doing to the actual planet and what it's going to do to human life and insects and things like that. I mean, things like just something that people don't even probably think about that much, things like bees and other insects. I mean, if bees die off, I mean, then we have problems with things like producing fruit and vegetables and all that sort of stuff with pollinating things, and we need it as a food source, and if we don't have a food source, us human beings die off.
Exactly. And part of the problem with that is all of the pesticides they're using that are killing off the bees.
Yeah.
So it's just...
Yeah. A lot of it just comes down to greed. No, it's crazy.
Definitely.
It's crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we've just had a public announcement, and I'm not sure what for.
The old bill are up to something, maybe. I don't know.
They've come for us. And you guys were the first hardcore band really in Australia. Were you alone with being a hardcore band?
No, and I don't know if I would say that we were the first hardcore band. When I was a kid, I grew up and I got to see bands like the Coloured Balls, who were like a sharp band, and that's like a thing that's very rooted in Australian culture. It's basically like Australian skinheads. It's not a racist thing, but that's like the Coloured Balls. That's like, you know, that's something I saw when I was like 10 or 11, when I was like a little tyke. So, but then I had older brothers, and one of them was into punk rock, and you know, and I got exposed to stuff like the Damned and the Dead Boys and Bad Brains and stuff like that, and a lot of the English punk as well, which I still love to this day, and of course stuff like the Stooges and Black Sabbath, and they used to play Hendrix, and you know, my family like listened to traditional music. My family are originally from Ireland and Scotland, so I wouldn't say that we were like, we're probably a band that's kept going.
Yes.
And kept doing our thing and kept recording and kept playing shows and also touring overseas. I mean, we've toured New Zealand, we've toured Asia, we've come to the UK now, but we've toured other parts of Europe before, and we've also toured America a few times and stuff.
You were, I think, one of the first in America, Australian hardcore punk.
The first time we come to America, we played. That was probably that first tour was in 1986.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a while ago.
No, it was last year.
We did a interview with Tim Yohannan at Maximum Rock and Roll back then, and I remember him saying to me, "You're the first of that new breed." And he goes, "Before you, there was the Saints, but you're something totally different now." Like we were, I mean, I love the Saints. I've seen the Saints. I had the pleasure of seeing them when I was a kid and stuff like that. So, but see, that's the other thing. Like before, when we were talking about Australian punk and stuff like that, there was a band called the Sick Things, and they're from around about 81, 82, really noisy, chaotic, sort of like hardcore. And before then, there was sort of stuff that was more like 70s style punk, more like stuff like the Zorros and the Z-Cars and Corporate Body and stuff like that was leaning. There was also another band called Odious Comparison, and they were more influenced by stuff like the Ruts, and they were leaning towards hardcore. But the thing with these bands, like, people have demos, and I think some vinyl in limited amounts has been issued, but those bands, their stuff is very rare, and in a lot of ways, those bands are sort of like the precursors. Like, I mean, they're something I saw when I was a kid, and it inspired me.
Made you feel compelled.
The other thing that inspired me too, I grew up in the western suburbs of Melbourne, and it's very working class and all that sort of stuff. And I used to travel to St Kilda to the Seaview Ballroom, and I used to go and see punk and hardcore bands there. And around 81, 82, especially from about 82 onwards, you had bands like Depression and End Result and Civil Dissident and Charred Remains and a band called The Bodies. And there were a whole plethora of new bands starting that had a new energy and a new feel to them. And they were also probably centralising their anger a lot more and speaking out about a lot of different things, and a lot of the bands, they were starting to take a political stance as well. So I sort of, in a way, for me to think that we're the first. No, it's like anything. It's like a lot of these scenes burst out all over the world. And the thing is, we wouldn't have been doing our thing if it wasn't for bands like the Saints and the Thought Criminals and Razor and all those, and News from Melbourne and all those amazing bands that it's just an evolution. It's just a chain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, taking it further back, you go back to like Jerry Lee Lewis. I think he was the punk of his day, and he inspired others.
Things like before that band I was talking about, the Coloured Balls, there was a band called the Purple Hearts, and they're like sort of garage 60 punk sort of stuff.
I remember them.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just a lineage. That's all it is. It's a lineage.
Exactly. The next generation takes on what the last one did and puts their own twist on it and makes something But you've been keeping it going for now, what, 35 years, is it?
35 years. 35 years, going on to 36.
Yeah, just a couple of years. And you're getting ready to release a new album?
We did a new album last year, and we went into the studio and we demoed a whole bunch of songs. and we're going to be recording later this year. So we don't know what we're going to do with it. We don't know if we're going to do some EPs or we're going to do a split with another band or we'll do a full album. But we did about 20 songs.
Wow.
And we cut down, and there's 10 we really like. So we'll just see. And that's usually what we do. We go in and we record and we write, and we'll do that. And we do it over a weekend. And then we work out sort of over a few weeks what works. But with the tour coming up and other shows we had to concentrate on our set and stuff. So that's sort of what took priority before we went on tour.
That makes sense, and also gives you a bit of time to let it brew in the back of your mind and think about it, and then all of a sudden you'll see, I really love this little group of songs out of the group of them.
And the songs for everyone too, it has to work. You can't be too precious about it. It has to have a good feeling. It has to work for everyone. Exactly.
And with that, where can people buy your existing material? I know on tour you've sold out of your CD already that you brought with you.
All the vinyl's nearly gone too, and we had patches and stuff, and all that stuff's gone, and we've got certain T-shirts are gone and stuff, but there's still a few T's left, and this is the third show, so, and we've still got Germany and Poland, so.
Oh, geez, so you're heading off to Europe after this with very little left in your merch. That's not a bad thing.
No,
that means people love you.
Yeah, it makes things a bit lighter for us anyway.
That's true.
And,
less to lug.
But a lot of the stuff, if you go online and you just basically look for, it's just basically if you Google in Vicious Circle 83 or Vicious Circle Australia, or if you go to Goat Sound Records, www.Goat Sound Records, or Not Like You Records in America, they've got a 7-inch that was re-released, and also the new album, and it's also available on all the digital platforms and stuff like that.
Amazon, get it, and Apple Music and all of that.
And all that
Spotify.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Get their stuff. It is definitely worth it. And I am so excited to finally be seeing you. You may have been one of the first bands to come from Australia to America. I never got to see you now, and so now this is it.
I remember we did a few different shows around California, and I got to see, it's a long time ago, but I remember I got to see Detox. Can you remember the band Detox?
I do, yeah.
And I really like Detox. They were amazing, and it was great to see them live. But I also got to see MIA, and we played with MIA, and we went back to their rehearsal studio on the beach and we had like a rehearsal with them and hung out with them and that. And Michael's such a beautiful guy. I know he's passed on now, but I have really beautiful memories. He's a really good human being. But yeah, it's a long time ago when I think about it. Yeah.
But it's good to hold on to those beautiful memories like that, because those are once in a lifetime opportunities.
Well, it's just at the end of last year in December, Raw Power from Italy came out to Australia, and we went over to Adelaide with them and played with them there, and that was amazing, And I meeting Mauro and stuff like that and seeing Raw Power, because I love Raw Power, and for me, Screams from the Gutter is a pinnacle. It's a pinnacle album. It's an amazing album, and After Your Brain as well. I was just in awe, and it was great to see them, and plus they were really down to earth and good people. That's the thing that I like about hardcore and punk rock. It's like a family that's worldwide. I meet people from all over the world, and there's a common thing that we have, and it's not, obviously we're not all the same, but there are bridges and beliefs and commonalities and ideas and stuff that make things work and make it a lot easier to get along with people. For instance, when we just played Rebellion, there were different people I met that I've known from different parts of the UK, people from America, people from New Zealand, people from Australia, people from the Czech Republic. It was kind of people from Germany. It was crazy. It was really good.
It's like the worldwide regathering of all of us type of thing. Yeah.
And that's a positive thing.
Definitely. Because the more people you know from the different places, the more your mind expands, and the more I think, beautiful life is when you get to know people from cultures other than your
Yeah, the
own.
more you can know about a different culture, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think on that note, I will just say one thing, what you were saying before. Save the bees, but don't leave them out sugar water. It's not good for them. It's their junk food. Because it just got me going with the bees. It's one of my things.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up.
worries.
And thank you very much for speaking with us. Can't wait to
Thank
see
you.
you finally.
Thank you. Bye bye.